I don't know the full story accident, myself missing the key parts. If anyone knows more, please enlighten me on what exactly happened back then. Around 14 years ago, I used to go motorbiking at night on mountain passes. The place was highway, at the border between Osaka and Nara. This happened to an acquaintance I met there, though we were just, oh that guy. With the cheerer level acquaintances, never talked much or even knew each other's names. I had lots of those kinds of friends back then. Anyway, one day I heard strange rumors about the Chiba guy. Since I realized I hadn't seen him lately, asking various people, the story differed slightly between tellers. Seemed sketchy. It went something like this. The Chiba guy and his friend were out, having fun somewhere when they ran into wild dogs and escaped on their bikes. The Chiba guy got away, but his friend, running on foot, got attacked and killed by the dogs. Though some said they both tried to flee, but the friend who ran towards the pond got caught and killed by the dogs. Apparently, it originated from a newspaper article, which, unfortunately, I never saw, but it sounded like someone had definitely died. Anyone hanging around highway back then probably heard this wild dog story, while those who read the paper passed it along. As is, since I was asking around different places, after a while, versions emerged like, heard it from the Chiba guy's girlfriend, with totally crazy details. No dogs in those. Instead, something you'd rather not imagine appears. Those versions creeped me out too, but years later, I happened to meet the Chiba guy himself and heard the true full story straight from him. Here's what he told me. The Chiba guy, his girlfriend, the Chiba guy's friend. Call him Tsur guy and Tsur's girlfriend. The four of them went out to see night views, riding double on two bikes around it. But unable to find a good spot, they got bored, wandering, and decided to take a break in a park with barely any views, then head home. None had been to the park before or even knew its name. Small, with restrooms right after entering, and a pond deeper inside to the right. That kind of place. Past midnight, it seemed creepy and the girls were scared, but they were tired and wanted to rest. So walked further and looking for benches near the pond. When suddenly, thud, a loud splash from the pond. Looking over, it seemed a large rock had been vigorously thrown in, with huge ripples spreading across the water. The pond was surrounded by a fence, so throwing anything big enough to make that noise high enough to clear it took incredible strength. Or rather, with nobody else around, the sound alone freaked them out completely. Tsur's girlfriend started crying, and the Chiba guy was so spooked, they immediately decided to leave. But the moment they tried to circle back past the pond to the entrance, thud, closer than before on their way back. Though it was pitch black out, they saw it in the dark. What's worst is we saw it clearly, right nearby, at the center of the ripples from the splash, shortly after the sound. Something poked just the area above its nose out of the water and stared right at them. The face looked like a human toddler's, but the eyes were in weird places. When their eyes met, the face in the middle of those ripples. After that, his memory gets hazy, but Uwaya. He said someone, or maybe himself, screamed. Or perhaps they all did. He remembers running back to the bikes and waiting for his girlfriend, which felt like ages, but was probably under 10 seconds. Tsur's bike already had his girlfriend on back, and he was trying to start the engine, so maybe extra panic rush. Anyway, he was so freaked out he couldn't wait for her to come slowly. Crying and stumbling, said he clearly recalls his gut boiling with impatience, since at that moment, from the pond direction they could distinctly hear kiki 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 kiki, childlike giggling. Apparently his girlfriend also heard the laughter afterward, and the reason she could only manage a slow stagger was her legs had buckled. No way a person could run with dead legs like that. Anyway, by the time she finally reached the bike and got on back, the spur bike was already running and ready to go, but for some reason, the Tsuru bike's engine still wouldn't start. Bikers might know that Shibur 250 you just push a button to start. But the Tsur you've gotta kick a lever down to fire the engine. Tsur guy was frantically kickstarting over and over, but nothing was happening. Shibur guy was already freaked out of his mind. Just waiting for his girlfriend, now he had to wait for the other bike's engine to start too. But when from nearby, not the pond, but right by the park entrance, he heard keek. He immediately fled, abandoning the Tsuru pair. Realizing whatever was in the pond had gotten out, cleared the fence, and approached right next to them. Shibur guy doesn't know what happened after. And of course neither do I, having heard it from him. Anyway, Shibur guy and girlfriend went straight to his home, waited a while, then called Tsuru guy's house. But we're told by his family, he's not back yet. This was before everyone had cell phones. After a few, still not homes, they got seriously worried and went back to the park to check, just Shibur guy alone. Not too long after ditching the others. But by the time he got there it was fully light out. What Shibur guy saw, Tsur collapsed at the park entrance, and Tsur's girlfriend sitting next to him giggling non-stop. No sign of Tsur himself anywhere. He immediately called the cops and an ambulance. But Tsur wasn't found until the next day, when his corpse surfaced in the park pond, mangled as if mauled by dogs. So the paper reported it as a wild dog fatality. But Shibur guy insisted, with the fence, it couldn't have been dogs. Oh right, Tsur's girlfriend was hospitalized after that. And they grew distant, so he lost the chance to ask what exactly emerged from the pond. Not that it would have been easy to discuss her boyfriend's death anyway. Until then I'd only heard minor spiritual encounter stories. Saw this or heard that, so a death really occurring was a massive shock. Maybe it's scarier hearing it straight from someone who was there. After this account, I considered searching for the park several times, but always chickened out. My incoherent writing probably doesn't convey the creepiness. Anyone who thinks so should try finding this park themselves. Shibur guy said from Osaka, around the left side of highway before Pass.